Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast. Glad you're here. I am continuing my series of podcasts based on my book, Married But Lonely. This is the book for you to avoid the crisis of divorce. If you're unhappy now, this is the book for you. The time to speak the truth to your spouse, to share how unhappy you are in your marriage is right now. Don't wait. Today's topic, the letter of resentments. I want you to write your husband a letter expressing all the resentments you were holding against him. Go all the way back to the beginning, the day you met him. I'm not kidding. Think back over your history and pray that God will bring up all the painful memories that need to be flushed out. To purge the pain and genuinely heal and forgive, you must put down on paper what happened and describe how you feel about that. Go into as much detail as possible about what he has done to anger, offend, hurt, and disappoint you. You will write out the events and the emotions they stirred. Details are important because your pain is connected to them. If you don't get the details out, you won't get your pain out. Plus, you are dealing with a man. For him to get it and actually realize what it has been like to be his wife, you have to paint him a very clear picture. You're going to get his attention with this letter, in addition to healing from the pain he's caused you. You need to be nothing less than completely and brutally honest in this letter of resentments. You are going to give it to him straight, and you will not spare his feelings in any way. You will not let him down easy. You will not rationalize or excuse his behavior. You will not blame the hurtful things he has done on his childhood, his personality, or his stressful job. You will not bring up your mistakes in the marriage. That will be done in another stage of the husband transformation process later in these podcasts. All you will admit to now is enabling his mistakes by tolerating them. And that's what most Christian wives do for years. They tolerate, and end up enabling. This letter is going to be negative. Absolutely all of it. Do not, I repeat, do not put any positives of any kind in this letter. Many experts, and I have that in hand quotes, you can't see me, but I'm doing it, recommend that in a confrontation, you should compliment the other person because this softens the blow and helps him receive and act on your message. Here they are wrong, absolutely and completely wrong, not even close to being right. We do not want to soften the blow. You've been doing that for how many years already? If you patty cake around by praising him, your message will be diluted. He will just hear the praise and think, I'm not such a bad guy. She's not that upset. My mistakes aren't that serious. He's thinking that anyway. He won't get it. You will have wasted your time. You will be positive at other times in this strategy, not now. After hearing my explanation of this letter, wives often respond, oh, but I don't want to be too hard on him. I don't want him to be angry and upset. I tell them there is no way you can be too hard on him. Yes, you do want him to be angry and upset, rattled, shaken to the core, blown away. I know husbands, if you give him only one positive comment, one, he will seize on that and remember nothing else you say. You want this to be a letter he will never, ever forget, a letter that will finally break through his things are okay wall and help him understand and feel your pain, a letter that will play a major role in changing his life. You won't write this letter in one sitting. Digging deep and reliving the pain will be physically and emotionally exhausting. Chip away at it. Write for 30 minutes today, an hour tomorrow, 45 minutes 2 days later, and so on. It may take a week or two to complete this message. Let it flow. Don't worry about grammar, punctuation, or spelling. This is from the gut, from the heart. Let it all hang out writing. Here's how you begin. Go to your husband, sit him down, look him straight in his eyes and say, Bob, if his name's Bob, I want to set up a meeting 3 days from now. He will probably look sickened and think, oh no, not another meeting. Too bad. Then continue. I'm ready for the next step in Dr. Clark's strategy that we're following. I'm going to tell you some very personal, difficult, and painful things. I don't want the kids in the house when I do it. Please arrange for someone else to watch them during this time. That will certainly get his attention. Once you have scheduled this meeting, get up and leave. Do not tell him what you are planning. Make him wait to find out. With this letter, I prefer a surprise attack. If he already knows about the letter of resentments because he's read the book, this will be true of exactly 0.4% of husbands. That's fine. He still won't know what you are going to say. Act just as you did before the meeting where you talked about your needs. This was in a previous podcast. Cool, reserved, quiet, and to yourself. Okay, the meeting comes. For this meeting, sit at your kitchen or dining room table, not a casual, comfortable place. You want a somber, serious tone. Next, inform him of the ground rules. As you can see, I have a letter I'm going to read. It is very important that you remain silent throughout. Please listen and do not interrupt. I want you to hear me and work hard to understand what I am saying and feeling. Walk in my shoes and see things from my point of view. This is my truth and my feelings. I will not argue over the details. I ask you to accept and validate my feelings and believe me. I have lived all of this, and it is an accurate description of my life with you. You can deliver this message verbally or read it as the first paragraph of your letter, either way. Now, if he refuses to listen or interrupts you more than once, hand him the letter and walk away. Most intimacy avoiders are decent sorts and will listen in silence. Okay, I'm going to cover now portions of a sample letter of resentments. It contains the basic format I recommend you use in creating your own unique document. To get the whole picture and read the whole letter, of course, you'll have to get the book, Married But Lonely, available on my website, davideclarkphd.com. That's Clark with an E. Okay, here's how she begins her letter. This is the sample letter in the book. Again, just his name, no dear. We're making this serious as a heart attack. Simply Bob, or whatever his name is. It wasn't easy writing this letter, and it won't be easy for you to hear it, but it has to be done. Over the course of our relationship, you have done a number of things that have hurt me deeply. I don't think you have any idea how much pain you have caused. In fact, you're still doing things that hurt me. I realized recently that I am still holding on to these painful memories and the emotions that go with them. I stuffed them down and they are inside me. I still resent you for all the mistakes you have made. That is not good for me, and it is not good for our relationship. So it is time for me to get these resentments out. As I read this letter, just listen. Don't say anything. I want to heal from the damage you've done to me. I want to forgive you. I want you to know what you have done and to feel some of the pain I have felt. I want you to change and stop hurting me. I'm going to begin at the beginning of our relationship. And she describes, I'll just go over this briefly, she describes a relationship he had with a girl while they were dating. This was a painful wound and it has never gone away, and she describes that. Now here's a section on his workaholism. This is her reading the letter to her husband. Over the years, your workaholism has caused me a great deal of grief, anguish, and anger. Your job has always been your number one priority. Do you know what it's like to wait day after day and month after month and year after year for your husband to come home? Do you know what it is like to know you are not as important to your husband as his stupid job? I won't mention every time you were late for dinner, social plans, special events at the kids' schools, and birthday parties. I don't have enough pen and paper, but I will mention two that stand out. Susie's 6th birthday party. It was the first time that we had both sets of grandparents in town for a birthday. It was a big deal. You promised you would be home by 5 o'clock. You lied, just like you lied 1,000 other times about when you'd come home. I was angry and humiliated that night as we waited an hour and a half for you to show up. Not even a phone call. Couldn't you have told your client that you had to be at your daughter's birthday party? You hurt your daughter and me that day. I won't go over the second incident. It was concerning one of their anniversaries. Here's another section about lack of romance, which many men are guilty of, frankly. She reads, your lack of romance over the years has really, really hurt me. You know from my letter of needs how important this is to me. I will never feel loved by you unless your romance is in our lives, unless you romance me regularly. You romance me during our courtship, then dropped it about 3 months into the marriage. You don't send me flowers. You don't give me cards. You don't tell me I'm beautiful. You don't give me affection. You don't take me out once a week for a romantic date. You don't plan getaway weekends. You don't watch romantic movies with me. Your lack of romance makes me feel unloved and unattractive. I have wondered for years if you don't romance me because you're not attracted to me anymore. Do you still love me? Without romance, I don't know. When we do have a romantic time, I plan it. You know something? I'm tired of doing that. It spoils it. If I am always the one who makes it happen, I am frustrated and just plain angry with you for being such a non-romantic stick. Pursue me, romance me, love me. She has a section on communication, which of course is critically important for so many wives. And he dropped the ball in communication. She also has a section in her letter about sex and how unrewarding it's been and how it's always been about him and he hasn't met her needs. He criticized her about her weight and housekeeping. She has that in a letter. And now she closes with these comments in her letter. First, you don't have to respond to this letter now. It is a lot to take in. In fact, I don't want your response now. I'm going to hand it over to you when I'm done reading, and you can reread it by yourself. When you are ready to talk about what I have shared, please let me know, and we'll set up a meeting. I want you to know that I want your heartfelt apology for all these hurtful behaviors. I want you to explain the best way you can why you have treated me this way. I want you to convince me that you understand what I have been through and that you are willing to work to make changes, work hard. I anticipate having a number of conversations about this letter, but I won't ask you to talk. You need to come to me. Well, even the little bit I've read is brutal, isn't it? And tough. Long, detailed, and gut-level honest, that's what I want you to do in your letter of resentments. Your intimacy avoider, if he's a decent guy and if he loves you, and those are both ifs, but if those are true, he'll begin to crack and splinter after you read him your letter. I've seen this kind of letter lead to healing and forgiveness in wives and to husbands who are motivated to change. That may seem like the impossible dream, but it isn't. So sit down today and start writing. You will be glad you did. Of course, I recommend you get my book, Married But Lonely, to help you through all of these steps. In the next podcast, I'm going to talk about how to keep your system clean of resentments. Once you have blown them out in this letter, now you got to keep them clean. I want to add here at the end something important. If you're in a marital crisis right now, no matter what your situation is, I can help. We can do a 45-minute phone advice session. I'll get the background and give you a specific strategy moving forward. There isn't a marital situation I haven't heard about or heard of in 33 years of clinical work. My phone advice service and my books and this podcast and my videos are all on my website, davideclarkphd.com. davideclarkphd.com, Clark with an E. So until next time, this is David Clark.